The question has been asked on my Facebook page, what about business rights or the right of people to work, right? You hear that claim quite a bit. Does the government have the power to stop me from going to work? Can the government stop me from working as many hours as I want, wherever I want, however I want, as long as it's legal employment, obviously? There's a simple answer to this, and the answer is no. There's no constitutional right to work or to work at a certain place or to do a certain job. This was not always so. There was a case called Lochner versus New York in 1905 in which the Supreme Court said that it is a fundamental right to be able to buy and sell labor, basically. You had a bunch of bakers who wanted to work more than 60 hours a week. New York had a law that said you're not allowed, if you're working in a bakery, you're not allowed to work more than 60 hours a week. And the Supreme Court says that's none of the government's business. That's the whole idea of constitutional rights, right? Is what is the government's business and what is not the government's business. In that case, the court said it's not the government's business. That's an unenumerated, unlisted right. The right to contract is what the court called it in that case. But that was 1905. In 1936-37, the court switched. In the midst of the Great Depression, the court realized, and listen to this, right? The court realized that in the midst of a national emergency that called for governmental intervention, and that of course being the Great Depression, that it was not wise for courts to stand in the way of governments regulating economic rights. And that of course includes the right to own a business, the right to work, et cetera, et cetera. When people use the term right to work, they're talking about state statutes. They're not talking about the Constitution. There is no constitutional right to work. The upshot of that is that if the government interferes with your right to do a certain job or any what lawyers call economic rights, right? Those are regarded as very low-level rights, and the government can interfere with those as long as it has a rational basis. The rational basis test goes like this. If the law or policy is rationally related to the achievement of any conceivable, listen to that word, right? Any conceivable legitimate interest, the law or policy is okay, right? Then the government wins. As I've described in prior videos, what you want if you're a challenger to some government law or policy, you want a court to apply what's called strict scrutiny. The court's not going to get anywhere close to strict scrutiny in one of these cases. In fact, if you really want to dive deep in the weeds here, look up a case called Williamson versus Lee Optical. That's a case where an ophthalmologist or ophthalmologist sued on the basis of a state law that said only certain people can fit lenses to glasses and all this kind of stuff. And it was the same type of argument, an economic rights argument. And the court in that case ran as far away from strict scrutiny as it possibly could and started making up reasons why maybe the state would have, had a legitimate purpose for enacting the law. So the long and the short of it is there is no constitutional right to work. There is no constitutional difficulty under the Due Process Clause or the Equal Protection Clause or any other part of the Constitution with regard to the government, say, shutting down restaurants or movie theaters or private businesses like that. There may be statutory problems or problems unrelated to the Constitution, but there are no constitutional difficulties with that. Very low level of review, and most of those laws or policies would be upheld. So I hope that helps explain that. And any other questions? I'm thinking about inviting other people to come in and join me in these conversations as well. I'm really curious any questions people have about what's going on. And if you would leave those in the comments, I'll be sure to try to answer those maybe within the next video. So we'll see you soon. Stay well and stay tuned.